it's always a pleasure talking to you. So I'm here to support you and to just share some insights, hopefully.
And that's exactly why I want. So part of what I have been, I'm on a mission to empower people because I've had so many struggles throughout my entire life. And, it's sometimes when we get those struggles, we lose the balance of life and we fall, and then we get this silly feeling like we're not good enough or strong enough or smart enough. And then we lose the desire to keep going. So what I want to do and what I'm going to be asking you for is about sharing your story, because when we share our short stories and we show people that we're just average people that have, maybe done something a little different, then maybe we can encourage other people to keep on going and not to give up. So that's what I want to start with you is, first of all, maybe we'll start with, let me jump back 1 second stage. Now, we talked about the CCC awards, and I know it's from ClickFunnels, but so many people don't know what ClickFunnels is. So just tell us what this award represents.
Sure. So firstly, that it's called 2CCX awards, just so I clarify. And it's actually these things behind me. There's three of them, and I do want to show the watches, but there's three of them there. And what those three things represent is you get those awards when you build a funnel that has done over $10 million each. And so I've got three of those, and actually just a new one came in, and this is for the $1 million award. So anytime a funnel, which is basically a process for turning strangers and visitors into customers. When the business becomes $1 million business or a $10 million business, then you submit proof and evidence to ClickFunnels, and then they give you one of these big awards. And so that's what it is essentially. But like you said, about struggles and starting from scratch, people look at this and they think suddenly, wow, especially when they hear I'm 30 years old, or actually now I'm 32, but before 30, I generated over $30 million. And it sounds great. Sometimes I pinch myself. I'm like, wow, that's me. But this has been a process, right? And especially it's a 10-year process. Let's just say the last 10 years of my entrepreneurial career, the first few years was the hardest. And although I when I'm sharing these stories, I say, I started internet marketing, digital marketing, publishing products and services when I was 21, which is the age I came in full time. What a lot of people actually don't know is I used to sell on the streets when I was around 14, 15, 16 years old. And I would go, there was a place called Sunday Market. It still exists now, but usually rich people go there. Back then, the poorer people used to go. And I don't know if you call it flea market, but it's basically, markets. And as a kid, I would go there and I would basically sell mobile phones. I would sell lots of different stuff. And that's really where my entrepreneurial career started from. And I remember, my dad would take me and I would look at all these people, and they used to sell T-shirts and basically everything you could find in a market, bikes, secondhand bikes, laptops, whatever. And I'd always think to myself, wow, that looks like the coolest job ever. Like when I grow up, I'm going to be that guy sitting in the market and collecting money. I just always liked the idea of, I guess, value exchange and transaction and selling. And so that's where it started. And as I started, getting online, probably when I was around 15, 16 years old, I started selling on eBay. So even during that time, I used to import things from China using Alibaba. Back then, no one really, knew much about it, but I used to buy stuff from Alibaba, and then I used to sell it on eBay. And I just had a very simple procedure, which was you buy low and you sell high, and whatever's in the middle, you make profit. And I kind of got that because my dad, he's in the property business. And as a kid, as I was growing up, I would see him, he would buy houses for low and then wait for them, do them up and sell it. or rent it out for and make profit or whatever. And so, it was kind of always jumped into me. But it wasn't as simple as that, because when I started talking to my friends and family, it was very little support. They didn't really understand what I was doing behind the computer, all day long. Obviously, I saw the opportunity and I was like, this is amazing. So I realized just because they don't see it doesn't mean that I shouldn't continue, right? Just because they don't see the vision doesn't mean I shouldn't continue.
And good for you, because especially at a young age like that, most people, most young adults really need somebody supporting them. So let's step back a shape, because, I've been following you for some time now, and we'll talk about that part afterwards. But, I just want to let people understand a little bit more about you. You didn't end up finishing university and getting a degree.
No, I didn't actually. Like most people, especially when you're brown, Asian, you're taught to go to school, college, university, get a degree, get a job, work in a big tower, which is for us in the UK or in London, it's called Canary Wharf. And it's funny because that's my actual view of Canary Wharf as I'm doing this interview. And that's why I was that's the thing that was jumped into my mind and my head as a kid. And it was probably when I was 20 or 21 years old, I had come across this thing of selling information, internet marketing, selling digital products. And for me, it was just a complete game changer, just the idea of that, because I was used to selling physical products and services, right? And gosh, I think it was around that time, 2000.
Shaq, we lost you. Hold on, we can hear you.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Sorry about that. So what had happened was I was going to university in my final year, studying finance, money, and banking. I thought I was going to get into investment banking. I got an invitation to attend this live event. And it's so funny because the people that invited me to the live event, we all went there, and at the end they were just so skeptical they didn't continue. And I was like thanks for inviting me, you guys. Like, I'm gonna go and explore what this thing is. And I remember, like it was yesterday, I went to one of these it was like a free preview seminar, and you go there and you learn for free, and they do sell you stuff, except at that time I didn't have any money and I didn't know what a credit card, or I didn't have access to any sort of credit. But I just knew that, wow, there's people out there that are making a lot of money, that they live in a different world, and if you pay them, they can introduce you to that right new world. And that's all I needed. I just needed an opening. And I remember coming back home, telling all my friends and family, hey, I just went to this event and I saw all these guys, and almost every single person said, just stay away from it. It's a scam, it's this, they're going to try to get you to sell to your friends and family. I mean, all sorts. And a lot of the times what happens is it's okay to be skeptical. And when you are skeptical, or when you are faced with skepticism, and someone, in one instance say they don't support you, usually just ask them, what's a better way? Right? Like everyone was telling me back then, hey, this internet marketing stuff, maybe you shouldn't get into it. Maybe it's a scam, this and that. What was the alternative? There was no, they wasn't giving me any alternatives, right? And so I knew that regardless of what was going on, I had to go and just kind of follow my path. And so I dropped out of university in my final year, and I went on this mission. And the first 9 months was the most absolute terrifying 9 months of my life. I'm not kidding. I was literally sleeping with my laptop every single day. It was just crazy. I mean, it was crazy. Plus, I had borrowed some money off of some friends, family, just literally everyone that was human. I would ask them for money just because I saw a vision, and I was like, who's got money? Who's going to lend me money? If you don't, that's okay. If you have money, you need to borrow me. And I got myself into about $45,000 worth of debt at the age of 21. And
well, that's amazing, though, that somebody would actually, that your family and your friends were actually feeding you money, because you had nothing to show for it at that point.
No, absolutely nothing. But so here's the thing, right? Like I go into one of these high ticket business opportunities, right? And the guy basically, it was like a $20,000 fee, which was like I probably didn't even have $2,000 to my name. And one of the things he said was like, $20,000 sounds like a lot of money, but if you got $2,000 from 10 people, that's your $20,000. And I remember thinking, okay, I want to become resourceful because that's what they were teaching. And, I was starting to write down every single person's name. And I think I had like more than 20 people. By the time I had gone through the first 5 or 6, I started getting some momentum because this friend would give me $2,000. This uncle of mine, which I haven't spoken to him for a while, he gave me $5,000, and I just figured out like how to get $1,000 a year. This, younger brother has got £500. I can take that off him. And I was just hungry to just go figure this stuff out, and it's not like I was investing. So that's the thing, right? Like I wasn't buying stupid stuff. I wasn't going and splashing on watches or cars or anything. I was literally pouring it into education, into coaching, mentorship, masterminds. And I knew that if I just stick with it long enough, something will work. Like that's all.
Can you repeat that, please, again to people?
Yeah, if I stuck with it long enough, as long as I'm disciplined, I'm taking consistent action, then something will work, right? And that's what happened. Something did work where at the time, Twitter was kind of up and coming, just like how a lot of people are on Instagram today. I was on Twitter, I was posting, being consistent, thinking like no one's reading this, no one's watching it, but people were. And it just happened to be 2 people decided to come on. One guy was from New Zealand, 3 people. Well, and I remember the names because they were my first ever clients. There's a guy from New Zealand called Colin. There was a gentleman from Malaysia, and there was another guy from Thailand. And between those 3 people, they had purchased one of these high ticket programs that I was selling. And, they range from $2,000 to $20,000. And so between those 3 clients, I had made around 30 something thousand. And I was like, whoa, like, and these are people I've never met, I've just, Skype was new back then, right? So we did Skype call. So I'm sure it was a Skype video call. It was very fuzzy as far as I remember, but between those 3 clients, I had made my first chunk of money. And then I remember going to another conference in London, and I met the speaker, the promoter of the event. His name was Mark Anastasi. And I had told Mark, hey, Mark, I just did this. I made close to $40,000 in a single month. And he was like, that is insane. Do you want to get on stage and share your story? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. Of course I can speak on stage. And that also was a terrifying experience because I remember, wearing this suit and jumping on stage and just sweating profusely because I had never been on stage. And here I was, gosh, I think I was 22 maybe. And there were 750 people. And I had obviously not planned anything, not prepared anything. I just got on stage. So it was, but as soon as that happened, I thought, wow, I can now brand myself as a speaker. And so I branded myself as a speaker, and it just kind of snowballed. So this is one of the reasons why, when the going gets tough, I used to always repeat lots of mantras to myself. One of the mantras I would always say is like, most people won't last this long. If I last long, then I'll outlast everyone else. And just based on that, and when I was starting off, it wasn't like, oh yeah, I knew making millions was possible, but I was like, how do I make just $10,000 a month? As soon as I hit that, I was like, how do I make $50,000 a month? And then I hit 50K. And then I was like, whoa, like no one can know this, right? I must be doing something crazy. And I remember calling up my dad and telling him, Dad, I've made $1 million. Like I had over $1.something million, $1.2 million cash. And I was, really young. And my dad is like, okay, son, don't tell no one. And then he said something along the lines of like, okay, son, you got lucky, And I think he still wanted me to get a job or something for some reason. But I said to myself, whoa, if I did it once, or maybe it's luck, can I do it again? And I remember doing the same processes again, but this time I hired 2 new people. And then I was like, wow, I have a system.
So what were you selling in your system?
At the time, I was selling high ticket information products that was $2,000 to $20,000. And that's why I'm so passionate about high ticket products. Back then you could do affiliate marketing. It was really easy. You sign up for other people's products and services. Now anyone who has experience, expertise, you have the ability to help someone get a specific result, which is, whether it's losing 10 pounds in 90 days or becoming more confident in 60 days or less, or whatever the end outcome is. If you can help someone to get a end result, maybe you can help someone make their first $1,000 or whatever, you could package up that information, that intelligence, that expertise, the mistakes that you've made, package it up with a compelling story and compelling copywriting, and you can attract people that will pay you $5,000, $10,000, $20,000, right? It's like I was reading something where something like this, I can't remember the exact number, but it was something more than like 50, I think it was like 40 or 50 million millionaires. And it's like, just like, let that number sink in. I mean, even if there was just only 10 million millionaires, that's a lot of millionaires. If you wanted to sell a product and you're struggling and you're thinking, who's got the money to buy this? There are plenty of people in the world that have the money. It's just a matter of how do you craft the messaging, the marketing, and then the offer. And the offer is the most critical thing. So I got really good. If you ask me what's the thing that made me the money, is I got really good at crafting offers, and the offer is essentially, a solution to someone's pain.
Now, you didn't come up with this all on your own. And I know from other interviews, you've already mentioned the fact that you've put money into yourself through mentors and coaches and that. Can you tell us about that, how you go about that, or even how you got into that at the beginning?
So in the beginning, I started off with these. There you go, with books. There you go, tons and tons of books. That's because I couldn't afford, I couldn't afford coaches and programs, right? And so, I basically found if I could go and read a book that someone had spent 20 years of their life, I don't know who this person is, Professor Steve Peters. Okay, there you go. Mind Management, The Chimp Paradox. My wife just finished reading it. I'm just starting to read it. But, this is a professor. He's probably spent 20 years of his life, read all the books, blah, blah, blah. He's paid the dues. Now, if I read this book, and this book cost me $20, okay, 13 pounds. I was close, $20 to $15 probably. Okay, and I get to compress what someone has taken decades, and I can just learn it in one go. That's powerful. Like, for some reason, I mean, I was not a reader when I was in school or college, even university, but I had attached the meaning of, if I read books, if I get mentorship, and if I invest in myself, then I can essentially buy time. And if I can buy time, then I can save myself decades of heartache in the long run. And that's basically how it started. I started off with my first mentor. I remember buying, it was $2,000, and then he upsold me for, I think it was like $10,000, which I didn't have. And then it was like 20 something $1,000, and I certainly didn't have that. And he was in America, right? So, 10, 11 years ago, like, especially when I grew up, no one was going to Las Vegas. So I went to Las Vegas for my first marketing conference. And that's when I met, millionaires. That's when I met online entrepreneurs. And I was like, this is a whole new world. It's like, this world would not have been a reality where I grew up from, right? I grew up in East London, 3 people, 3 bedroom, 13 people living in a flat. I thought making 100 grand a year was a lot of money. And these guys were making 100 grand a month, or some of these guys were making $100,000 per day. And for me, it was like, in the beginning, I did get in for the money. Probably after my first $10 million, when I was 26 years old, I stopped focusing too much on the money. It's still a big driver because, money is like, it's like fun coupons. You get to do more fun things. It just gives you a level of freedom and flexibility, I think. It's not the answer to everything, but it's good. And sorry, what was your question, Glenda?
It's okay. I just love listening to you go on because I've learned so much about.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Here's the thing with the mentors. Let me grab this, right. With the mentors, I realized if so for the first, let's just say, I for the 9 months I was struggling, right? And then I meet this mentor, and then he tells me, and by the way, he had made over $100 million ish, and he was like, I don't know, 27 to 30 years old. Okay, young guy from San Francisco. Now, he tells me you should learn copywriting, and I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, what the heck? Like, I'm trying all sorts of stuff. Like, I was trying to do press release, social media. I was trying to make YouTube videos. I was trying to do everything. And then he tells me, like, go and learn copywriting. And I'm like, that sucks, And so I'm like learning copy. So I, find all the greatest copywriters, Gary Halbert, John Carlton, a whole bunch of these guys, and I start consuming their materials, watching their videos, writing every day, and starting to write emails as my form of practice. And I had the notion of, even if no one listens, this is me practicing, because one day, I'll probably write best-selling books, and even till now. So I have that mentality, which is, sure, obviously I have people that read my emails and stuff, but I'm like, I also do it very selfishly because it's developing my skills. So that was one. So immediately after that, I was like, boom, I started making a lot more money. Then I went to another conference, found another mentor in Boca Raton, Miami, in Boca Raton. Beautiful place. And in Boca Raton, I go there, young kid, and I meet these guys, and they were all talking about how to sell stuff on the phone. And I'm like, that's the thing I need to learn. So I come back. I start learning how to sell on the phone. I make 6 figures. And then I'm like, well, what if I train another person? I bring on 2 other people, and my income goes from $275,000 to $1.2 million the next year. And I was like, okay, what do I need to do? I need to learn hiring. Okay, I can go and make all these mistakes. And by the way, I've still made so many mistakes, even after hiring coaches and consultants and bloody everyone. Because sometimes you can hire coaches and you don't listen to them. Okay, so that's that syndrome I've had for a very long time as well. That's why I have to pay a lot of money to my coaches and mentors. So they tell me one thing, and I'm like, okay, I go and learn, and I go and execute on that one thing. And then what would happen is, as I started hiring new mentors, I realized, wow, every level there's another devil. And for me to overcome that devil, okay, I can go spend a lot of time reading books, which is fine, or I could go find the best, pay them $5,000, $20,000, sometimes paying $25,000. I mean, I paid one time Russell Brunson $25,000 for a mastermind, which I couldn't attend. So I really just got 1 hour with him on the phone. But during that call, he gave me one thing to avoid, which saved me close to $400,000 just instantly.
Wow.
Because I told him, basically, I have, this much money and I want to put it into this investment. And he's like, I've already done it. And the results were 0, basically. And I'm like, what? So I knew very early on I could avoid a lot of costly mistakes. I could buy myself years of time. Years. This is what most people don't get, right? Like, the greatest hack for achieving whatever you want is finding people that have already got the results you want and just pay them. Pay them whatever they ask for, and then go to work. And go to work consistently. That's the biggest thing I've seen. I haven't done all these videos or interviews in the last 2 months. I took time off. And so, when I really think about it, and I've actually been thinking about this quite a bit, I'm like, it's consistency. It's consistency beats so much. And so, anyway, that's my 2 cents on the mentorship. And if I was to calculate, it's been over $500,000, probably close to about $600,000 over the last decade.
Wow.
Yeah.
But it's paid off for you, hasn't it?
It's paid off. It's paid off. It's funny because sometimes I'll talk to people and they're like, did you really do that? You can buy a house. And I'm like, you have no idea the ROI that I got from just investing, the opportunities that have come in and all of that stuff.
So you talk about the 4 C's. You want to tell everybody what the 4 C's are?
Yeah. You have some background noise. I don't know if it's, do you have background noise?
No.
Some muffling going on. The 4 C's is something I learned from Dan Sullivan. Again, Dan Sullivan was someone I paid, I think, $35,000. I went and spent one day with him in Canada, in Toronto. And one of the things he talks about is, having the reason why people don't get started is because they don't have, gosh, what was it? They don't have, I'm going to mess this up, but hopefully I'll try to figure it out. Competence. Do you have them? Otherwise, I'll go for them. Give me a second. Courage. First step is courage. So first step is courage. And what is courage? Essentially, courage is having the ability to make decisions even when you feel like, I don't know what's on the other side, but realizing that this is fear, and you overcoming this fear by having the courage will get you on the other side. Now, how do you have courage? Where do you get courage from? You have to first commit. And a lot of the times what happens is, and you might even find yourself, and you ask me what are the struggles, and almost all of the struggles that I went through, first of all, I take full responsibility for everything. And as soon as you take full responsibility for everything, it really comes down to, are you actually committed? I used to do this exercise, and you've been to many of my live events, is would say, how many people here want to become a millionaire? And everyone would put their hand up, right? And then I would say, okay, well, how much is that per month, per day? And everyone would be like, huh? And then some people would get their phones out trying to calculate, right? As soon as I understood that, wow, there's an industry that's going to let me become a millionaire, because that was my first and really main goal when I started in this industry. I realized, okay, I got to make around $4,000 per month, which is about $2,793 per day. And, if I work that out per hour, it needs to be at least $400 or $500 an hour. Okay, if I'm spending 8 hours on the computer, I need to do only activities that result to that. Okay, well, how do I build a business that produces $3,000 a day, $85K a month, $1 million a year? And I would ask this to the audience, and no one had a clue. And then I would ask them, are you really committed? No, you just want it.
It's
just
3
like
o'clock.
everyone in the world, they just want things. And unfortunately, the world does not just reward and give to people that just want. So who does the world give to? Everything comes from God anyway. But the world, God gives to those who are committed. Because if you're committed, then you'll find the courage to continue, to persist, to be consistent. How many times, even for me, sometimes I'll post something on social media or Facebook or whatever, I'll email my list and it's crickets. There's no sales coming in. And I'm like, man, that thing took me 2 hours to do, right? Or I do a webinar and I'm like, this is going to be the webinar, and I make this offer. And then I'm like, oh gosh, no one's biting on this offer, right? But I still continue. Why do I still continue? It's because, sure, I have the courage to continue, but really it's because I made a big commitment for myself. So stage one to creating growth, endless growth as an entrepreneur. And this is mainly things I've learned from many mentors, one of them being Dan Sullivan, was first building block of growth is commitment. You have to make that commitment. Write your goals. Actually, here, these are my annual goals. Okay, if I asked you, or if I asked most people, and again, you don't have to answer me, but just ask yourself, do you have your own goals and that are there written, and it's right in front of you? Like, this is right in front of me every single day. Spiritual goals, health goals, property, recurring income, charity stuff, travel goals, portfolio, lots of different stuff. There's 10 things. It's right there in front of my face. Now, that's my commitment. So anytime I'm getting distracted, I'm watching too many YouTube videos, I want to watch a movie or whatever, and just look at my goals. And it says annual goals, review daily, right? And so these are the things that keep me on track. So that's my commitment. And again, your commitment could be different. Maybe your commitment is not about business and blah, blah, blah. Maybe it's something to do with your family. But find the accountability that's going to hold you there, right? That's going to keep you committed. So the commitment leads to courage. The more committed you are, the more courageous you're going to be. That courageous is naturally going to lead to a greater level of capabilities. Now, the reason why you can make this video right now is because you've made 5, 10, 20, 50 videos before, because you've had the courage and now you're developing the capability. A lot of the times, people do not develop the capabilities, or what I refer to as the scalable high income skills. These are skills such as copywriting, building funnels, hiring team members, negotiation, deal making, persuasion, influence, sales, marketing. If you haven't developed these skills and you haven't made a commitment to develop these skills, then that's what's going to be a big thing that's going to hold you back. I always look at it as this, which is, if this is my goal, okay, the gap is me, I don't have the right skills, or I haven't hired the person who has the right skills. That's it, nothing else. I could talk to you about, okay, maybe my mindset isn't there, blah, blah, blah. But once you get over that hoorah, mindset stuff, and you can just go watch 5 hours of Tony Robbins and, read and pray and meditate, and hopefully that can help you with your mindset. But let's just put that aside. In terms of tactical things, it's either you don't have the skills or you haven't hired someone with the skills. So usually what happens is, if you have lots of money, then you can just hire lots of people with the skills. If you don't have lots of money, which is fine, then you got to develop those skills and just start with one. I started off with writing copy, and then I started picking up the phone. And then I realized I can write copy to sell stuff like a $50 product and then get people on the phone, or I could do something called a webinar. And if I do a webinar, holy smokes, copywriting into a webinar, into a phone call, oh my gosh. And you know what's so crazy, Glenda? Literally, as I'm talking to you right now, my number one money-making system right now is exactly that. People come in, they watch a webinar on funnels.com, and then if they like what they see, they book a phone call. 10 plus years ago, I was doing this, and I'm still doing it now, because the principles they don't change. The tactics may change, but the principles don't change, right? And so what happens after you have different levels of capabilities? Now you have a different level of confidence. And now it's like, oh my gosh, I got the confidence. Now what can I do? Well, now I can take that confidence and I can now go for bigger goals, right? Like once upon a time, my goal was, how do I make 10K a month? After 10K, I wanted to make 50K a month, then 100K a month. And I remember saying, if I make 100K a month, I'm retired. I'm never working ever again. Like, I want to just stop. I'm going to be rich forever. I thought $100,000 will just be the end all for my, and then I made $1 million, and I was like, this is so crazy. Then I made $10 million. Then I was like, well, what if I could make $1 million in a month? And what if I could even make $1 million in a day? Which I'm happy to say, all praise to God, just last month I hit it in a single day, which is kind of insane. But again, it just becomes, the more confidence you have, the more courage that you put out in the marketplace and in yourself. And then, it just builds on. So anytime you feel stuck and you feel sabotaged, just ask yourself 4 C's to growth: commitment, courage, capability, and confidence. Commitment, courage, capability, and confidence. Where are you? Where are you stuck? Maybe you're not taking the right action. Okay, is it a confidence issue or is it a capability issue? Or maybe it's a courage issue. Or maybe you're not even committed. And just work those. So when I get stuck, right, I ask myself, hey, is it confidence? Am I lacking commitment, courage, capability? And sometimes even now, I have some of these issues, and then I think to myself, what's really going on? I haven't made the commitment for that. okay, what do I need to do? I need to find the people around me, mentors, clients. Sometimes I'll do it with my clients. You're part of my clientele. So you see, I have like 3, 4 different Facebook groups, and I'll go and post something in there, or I'll email my list and I'll announce something. Really, it's just for myself to hold myself accountable. Okay, because one of the ways you will get things done is if you put it out and you hold yourself accountable, or you find someone that's going to hold you accountable. And so, anyway, that's my rant.
Oh, I love your wants. Okay, so let's go into something that I know that you are a big advocate of, and because everything is a circle, everything is connected through our lives, and we talk about mindset. You briefly touched on it, and for me, it's very important, as well as physical being. So I remember many years ago when I met this young kid who was up on stage, and for some strange reason, I just had a feeling that I came in through an ad on Facebook, and because I knew that there was something going on with the internet, and that's where things were leading to. And I met this guy up on stage who was, sorry, but a little bit full of himself. But there was something though that intrigued me, because you had it all, but you were not the together polished man that you are today. And I love the fact that, I've watched you grow and how I put it, as blossomed in, because as things has gone on. So, but you've come into a practice. So you've brought in yourself. It's not just about the money. It's about the temple that you have been given, how you have now look after it. So tell us all what type of things you do as a routine to your body, to your head, and things like that. So, because that's where it has to start from, in my opinion.
100%. And looking back the last 10 years, I have definitely abused my body, not with drugs or anything, but just with, bad food, way too many desserts and all of this. And now I have a much better, healthy, I got married a couple of years ago. And so my wife, she's always encouraging to eat healthy and stuff. But before that, it was just like, I'm going to do whatever the heck I want, and sugar, desserts, ice cream, whatever. And that does come at a cost. As I'm getting into my 30s, I realized, oh, wow, if I have too much sugar, it gives me a headache. Whereas in my 20s, I was like, whatever, and so now as I look back as well, nothing beats working on your health. Like, if there's a great force multiplier, results multiplier, it's that. I mean, I think I've done okay in my 20s, but what if I was in my peak health? Wow. I mean, I could have probably done 5 times as much, for sure. Okay, so now moving forward for the next, 5 to 10 years, okay, this is like number one priority is my health. And everyone's heard of it, I'll give you an example. I was fasting last month, last month, I think it was last month, for Ramadan. I was fasting, and I went back to the gym, and I'm like so excited because I haven't been to the gym in a month, and I didn't get my trainer. Okay, I didn't get my mentor, who's usually right next to me, and I'm like, this is cool. And I grab these weights and I start doing, the weights and all the things that he taught me, which obviously he taught me, but I didn't pay much attention because the next day I had injured my back, and I've never injured my back. And for the last 2.5, 3 weeks, I've literally been sitting, and it has not, it's now pretty much gone away, but that pain was just unbelievable. And at that moment, I was thinking to myself, I'm making lots of money. I have business, I have investments, I have crypto, I have blah, 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 all this stuff, right? But what good is it that I can't even get out of bed? Because I would get out of bed, somehow manage to climb up the stairs, come over on the sofa, and some days I would just have tears of just so much, because it was just so much pain. I've never had this sort of pain, and so it's like, don't take your health for granted, whether you're 20 years old or 50 or 60 or whatever, it's just like big thing. Second, I do take some supplements, which is like a given. So turmeric tablets, athletic greens is a product I've been taking for like the last 10 years. Just short, it's a powder, you mix it with water. What else do I take? Just multivitamins and weird stuff, other stuff, but most of it is, natural stuff that can help me so I can have a better way to think, and my body. So I've also found that the more energy that I have, the more excited I am to produce. And ultimately, when you're an entrepreneur, you get paid based on the results. So if you don't produce, you don't, right? You don't get paid. And how do you get paid? Through results. How do you get results? By making sure that your mind, your body is optimized. You're sleeping good. You're sleeping at the same time, waking up at the same time every day. You are doing a 30-minute walk every day, whatever the case is. Everyone has their own little routine. If you don't have a routine, now's the time to build one. So that's my kind of 2 cents on that aspect.
Yeah, it's just so important. Like I say, everything is a circular thing and everything relates to everything else. Keeping it clear, having gratitude in your life. For me, that's part of my morning ritual is, first of all, making sure when I get out to know, I'm just grateful that I've woken up that day and that my feet can actually touch the floor and it can support my body, because I've had years of back problems. So, being very mindful of that at all times. And as I'm, aging, it's very important that I'm a big advocate to tell people, because you don't get a second chance. Once something happens, you're it. Do you meditate?
Yeah. Well, I pray 5 times a day. And so, after praying 5 times a day, usually during after each prayer, I just sit in silence, do prayers and stuff. But I am very big in gratitude, and especially when you wake up in the morning, and it's something I've always had a challenge with, because I would want to check my stats and first thing in the morning. But the first 20 minutes of the morning, as soon as you wake up, the brain is very malleable. And so what you want to do is make sure that if you have goals, review your goals. Do something that forces your brain to be creative, versus if you go into reaction mode. When I'm on social media, I tend not to look at any news. Now I'm looking at stuff that's happening in Palestine and stuff like that. But generally, no politics, no news, nothing that doesn't really concern me. Obviously, there's lots of crazy things going on in the world. I do look at it, so I'm not ignorant towards it, and then I do what I can to support it. We just had some not so nice things happen in London, in Canada, right? Yeah. And so obviously I paid attention to that. But in general, I try to just stay focused on what I can do. And sure, if there's in the morning, I never want to wake up with news or anything else versus me being proactive. And so that's very important for me anyway.
No, I totally agree. I found that through the COVID situation, I found that the best thing for me was to just totally disconnect from the TV, from the news, because it wasn't going to be helping me, and it was only actually hurting me because I was getting sucked into it.
Yeah. So most of the news is too biased anyway. No one trusts politicians these days anyway. So you're not missing out on much.
So let's ask two other questions. If you were to start all over again, knowing now what you know, especially what type of information or tidbit could you give to a newbie?
Keep things simple, less information, more action. It was like the biggest lesson I learned, because I was a master consumer. All I used to do was just consume videos and webinars, and I used to join everyone's thing because I wanted to learn, right? But then there has to come a time where you just reduce the learning to maybe 5%, and then the rest of the time is just action, action, action. You're producing. And a mantra, again, I built all these mantras for myself. One of the mantras was, producers get paid, consumers don't, right? And you want to shift from it's like when you go into a mall, there's only one type of business or organization that's making all the money from the consumers walking in, right? And the consumers are most people, and so I always, even now, sometimes I get sucked into something. I say to myself, you don't need to consume, just need to act. Acting and producing gets you paid, and so I'd say that's number one. Number two, make sure that you find 1 to 3, no more, because it will get very confusing. 1 to 3 mentors, and go deep with those mentors, because I just told you I haven't posted a video or something on social media probably for the last 2 months, but someone else is going to tell you need to post every single day, and someone else will tell you, TikTok is the new thing and you need to be on TikTok. So it's like, but if you're just starting out and then there's 3 people telling you 3 different things, this is why I like mentorship and customized, direct, one-on-one mentorship, because then you can get what you need and just run with it. And you don't need to focus too much time getting sucked in, right? And then the business model. The simplest one is, start building an audience around a pain that you can solve, a problem that you can solve, a passion that you have that's profitable, that people are willing to pay you money, and that they're easy to reach, right? And so there's a pain in the marketplace, people are already spending money, and they're easy to reach. Okay, figure that out, right? And usually that's in the health, wealth, love relationship niche. So just figure out, and then go as narrow as you can, go as narrow as you can, and just focus on one problem that you can solve for one type of person. They might be a 50 plus female living in California. Just focus on that as deep as you can go, because that's where you can help most people before you broaden out, before you try to change the world and you try to do everything else. Just go deep as deep as you can. And I still do this even now. I have a 8-figure business, and I have 2 brands, Wealth Academy and funnels.com, and I worked out from profitability. Wealth Academy will speak to a general broad sense, but if I wanted to attract business owners and sell $10,000, $50,000, $100,000 programs, it's easier with the funnels.com brand, right? And the market is this tiny, but it's big enough. You get it? It's big enough. So, and you can pick any niche, most niches. If you go deep enough, just ask yourself, who is let's just say I like to target affluent clientele. Who are the people that have the money, that can afford your services, that fit into that category? And so for me, if someone's got a 6 or 7 figure business, they could easily spend 10 to 50K for my products or service. Let me just focus on those. And all of my branding and my marketing is built, and my ads speak to attract that clientele, right? And so I'm not really teaching how to make money. I'm teaching stuff like 6 things that's keeping you stuck at 6 figures, 7 things to break past the $1 million mark. So immediately from my messaging, and the only reason why I understand the messaging is because I'm a student of copy, and I'm always learning about copywriting. I'm always reading stuff, or I'm studying good copy. Is because I can craft a message that will attract me that right person. So, and then third thing, simplify business model, find a business model that suits you, and focus on long-term, fundamental, scalable skills. So skills that once you do the work once, it will pay you. I have a sales letter right now that sells a $50,000 to $100,000 offer. That thing has been running for like 6-7 years now. It's generated more than $6 million in just high-end coaching. This is where a client will come in and pay, 40K, 50K, 100K plus just for coaching. But if I didn't write that sales letter, that wouldn't have worked. I have a webinar, that's done, I don't know, close to maybe $4 million right now. And that webinar was written like when I was in my mid-20s. And I didn't even write it. Someone else, another copywriter, wrote it, and then I went in and changed a few of the pictures, and then came up with a fascinating story and that thing. But if I didn't learn the skills of copy, I wouldn't have been able to do that. And so learn these things, or being able to pick up the phone and sell on the phone, or writing copy, writing emails, sales letters, presenting on webinars. So videos like this, get good at it. Get good at it, because as you get good at it, as you make one, then you make 10, then you make 100. By the time you've made 300, I mean, you're a pro. You could just get on and speak and sell whatever the heck you want. So learn the fundamental skills. Those are my 3 top things I'd say for any person that's starting off new.
But I'll tell you one other thing that you told me a long time ago, which always stuck with me, is because it was me, when you do something, just put it out there and stop worrying about it being so perfect. So, I would redo things and redo things, and, because it had to be perfect. And, and you kept saying, you would put out a letter and there would be a spelling mistake, or there would be grammar errors or whatever. And then when people would comment, you would say, well, big deal. I still made a few $1 million on it. So it really, it sparked something in me, which is huge.
100%. I mean, and you'll see even now, I mean, I've been doing this stuff for so long. I still have links on my website that's broken, and I'm like, it's fine. I have typos in my bio, and it doesn't matter. Again, a mantra, progress over perfectionism, right? And it's like, if you're making progress and someone else is trying to be perfect, the internet, from what I've learned and I've understood, unless you're selling some sort of software, right? Most of the time, when you're selling information products, when you're selling personality-driven brands and stuff, good is good enough. As Dan Kennedy would say, good is good enough. Is my background perfect? No. I mean, I'm trying to be like this. Now the sunlight is hitting my face. Who cares? It doesn't matter. As long as you have a message and you can share it and you believe in yourself that someone else can benefit. Okay, for me, I always think, if one person benefits, it's good enough. And I know you watch my videos. So when I'm making my videos, I'll think, okay, is she going to benefit? Yeah, she will. Okay, make the video, publish it. Because everything moves so fast. By the time you're trying to get things perfect, someone else has already beaten you.
True. Very true. All right. So one further question. The first time I actually interviewed you was the time when you came out with your very first book of the Backpack Millionaire. And that's been a little while. Do you have another book coming out anytime soon?
I do have another book coming, and it is going to be around funnels. It's going to be around funnels. It's going to be around marketing funnels that turn visitors into customers, which I'm still trying to figure out a catchy title. But it's going to be around marketing funnels that turns strangers into customers. Something along those lines.
That's fabulous.
And I'm planning before the year finishes. So I plan to get that one fully done and launched and published.
Cool. I can't wait to read it, and maybe I'll interview you again.
Awesome. I will definitely do that.
So I want to thank you so very much for coming, and I want to be mindful of your time that you've given me. And just to put out, if anybody wants to find out more about Shaqir, you can look him up online. He's got tons of courses and things to teach, funnels and all sorts. If you want to learn a bit more or moving forward in your life with building your own self and moving forward and getting through those struggles, that's one of the areas that I really do concentrate on as well. And, either one of us can be found on Facebook and Instagram, and we're both here to service you. That's both of our outlooks are to go out and help people manage and make something more of their life. So with that, I want to thank you so very much, Shaq. I hope you have an awesome day today, or it's in England, so you're already in the evening. So absolutely. I wish you well, and I look forward to speaking with you soon.
Absolutely. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it. Appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. Take care. Bye for now.